Stetson University.
Hi, my name is Alina Segrist. I'm a junior at Stetson University, and I studied abroad in Russia in the fall of 2011. I was a recipient of the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship, and I received $4,500 for a semester abroad. The Gilman Scholarship is a scholarship for U.S. students wanting to study abroad in a foreign country, and they give special credence to students wanting to study abroad in the critical need languages. For example, Russian is a critical need language. I found out about the Gilman Scholarship by going to the Center for International Education department at my university, and they handed me a pamphlet of all different types of scholarships that I could apply for, and the Gilman Scholarship was on that list. The Gilman Scholarship allowed me to pay for all sorts of excursions. I went to a hockey game, I went to a couple of different ballets, I went to several cathedrals, I went and saw theater performances, I was able to go to a figure skating competition, I went to dozens of museums, I went to concerts, the circus, on a boat tour of St. Petersburg. I was able to take a weekend trip to Moscow and go to other cities within Russia like Petergov. And I was even able to go to a neighboring country of Russia. I went to Estonia. Studying abroad was the most challenging thing I've probably ever done in my life, but it was also the most rewarding. Even if classes weren't necessarily the hardest that I had ever experienced, I learned the most about myself while I was abroad. I learned challenges that I had to face and how I could overcome them. And it was quite a challenge, but I enjoyed every minute of it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. The Gilman Scholarship made my study abroad possible. Do svidaniya!
Michael Denner, and I'm the director of the Russian Studies program here at Stetson University. I'm the associate professor of Russian Studies. I'm also a director of the university honors program. Everybody always says that students learn a lot and grow up a lot when they study abroad, and part of that, I think, is just learning what they can do. Students are so protected, and they have so many of the decisions made for them. Even students who are very independent. You know, the university is all about enabling good decisions and preventing students from making bad decisions. But when students go abroad, very often for the first time in their life, they're personally responsible for their own well-being. Students go and they actually discover how competent they are and independent they are, and that breeds confidence, and confidence is a good thing because it encourages students to take risks. I've done this and been successful. Maybe I ought to try this. I didn't think I would be able to do it, but based on my experience abroad, I know that I surprise myself all the time. Curricular or co-curricular level for study abroad that is granting students their independence and their competence, and teaching them their own limits, and teaching them to believe and trust in themselves. If they go abroad first semester of their sophomore year, they can come back and they have 5 semesters of taking classes, expanding their knowledge and enriching the experience in the classroom for the teacher and for those students. So why wait till after college? You should go after your senior year of high school. В Москву.
I'm Christine Jacobson. I'm a political science and Russian studies major. I'm senior at Stetson, and I studied in Russia in the spring of 2011. I just have never loved the culture so much as I love Russian culture. Something wildly unique about it. Probably every culture thinks that, but I just feel sort of really deep connection with it, and I think it started with Russian literature, and then from that stems a love of the history, because their history is so entwined with the literature, politics. Then you meet the people and you fall in love with them, and then you fall in love with their food and you fall in love with their cities. I really loved my time in St. Petersburg because I think as a young Russophile, what I loved most was the culture, like the ballet and the symphonies and the books. But now, as a person who's about to graduate and as a political science student and someone who's kind of really fascinated by what's happening in the country right now and wants to know where it's going, I would want to be closer to the political heart. But I think if a student wanted to go to Russia, they would be really happy living in either city. Cut yourself a break, go study abroad because you've earned it.
My name is Andrei Pisaryn. I'm a senior and I'm a Russian studies major and a Russian language minor. I was born in St. Pete, so I love the city. I believe it's more beautiful than Moscow. I went over there on the tuition that I pay here. For any student, it's a good experience. Just to grab onto different culture and just to experience something that you wouldn't experience here. It's Russia. You can't predict, or you can't, anything can happen.
My name is Rachel Orr. I'm a senior history and Russian studies student. I studied abroad in Moscow at Moscow State University in spring of 2011. Well, I took one history class at Moscow State University. I was in a new program where I took more or less 3 Russian language classes a week and then 3 elective classes, and I chose a Russian literature class and a Russian history class. And the Russian history class was actually taught by a woman who she was Russian, but she spent one semester year studying at Moscow, teaching at Moscow State, and another teaching at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So that was really exciting. And the literature professor was actually the head of his department at Moscow State University. He was like very famous, and he was teaching to like 4 American students in this really small Russian literature class. Actually, studying abroad helped me a lot because when the credits transferred over, they could more or less be applied wherever I needed them for my Russian major, wherever I needed a language credit, wherever I needed a Russian elective credit, and so I more or less came back with my Russian studies major completed. I was a recipient of a $3,500 Gilman scholarship that helped me study abroad quite a bit. It helped pay for my airfare, helped pay for my expenses while studying. It was very helpful. For the most part, I'm actually going to be starting working on my Gilman project very shortly, and I really wish more people knew about the Gilman Scholarship, because there are a lot of people who don't study abroad because they're worried about financial considerations, and it's important to know that that is an option. I really loved Moscow because it's a very cosmopolitan, modern city, and I come from a really small town, so it was very exciting for me. I greatly recommend studying abroad. It was by far the best experience of my undergraduate career. I met so many interesting people. Not to sound cliche, but it completely changed my life.
My name is Chris Johnson. I am a junior here at Stetson. I went to Moscow State University for 2 semesters, and I am studying Russian studies and political science here. Doing study abroad is, I would say, best to do while still in college, and I think it's necessary if you're studying a language and a culture, simply because anything you see in videos and hear over the news is not enough. I have 2 majors and I'm still graduating on time and almost ahead of time. I would say we had students that went there that had literally never taken Russian before, and they managed to do okay. It's really surprising how easily you can get around a country by pointing at things. I would suggest that you at least have a year or 2 in the language. I think you want to be able to have some basic conversations with people there, and not having any knowledge of the language doesn't hurt you, but it lets understanding people, not just in their language, but what they think. It's much easier. I hope you pick Russia, and до свидания.
My name is Christina Templeton. I'm a Russian Studies major and Environmental Science major. I studied abroad in the spring of 2011, and actually my whole reason for going to college is so I could study abroad, which is kind of interesting, but that's like the #1 thing that I really wanted to do. And actually I chose Stetson because they have the Russian studies program. I love being able to, like, they go to pahod, which means they just, you know, get food and go in nature, make a fire and drink and eat and make merry. So I think that's my favorite part about it. The good thing about studying Russian as a foreigner is that there were lots of other foreigners from different countries. I made lots of friends from Poland, Finland, Denmark, all everywhere. I think a lot of, especially Americans, are afraid to go out of the country because, you know, we're kind of separated from the rest of Europe. Like, all the Europeans, they just travel everywhere. They've been to, like, all the countries there, and it's a lot easier for them. But I think a lot of people don't study abroad because they're just afraid to get out of their comfort zone, which is very unfortunate. Я обожаю Россию!
Stetson University.